So if you guys grew up on the internet, specifically YouTube, as a kid like I did, you guys might remember those kind of weird YouTube channels that you used to watch. If you go to look them up, a lot of times they are still there and either making the same content, they've pivoted their content, or their videos just randomly stopped. Like either a few months before you looked them up or like years ago. But very rarely are these YouTube channels just gone. I watched this channel called 7 Supergirls when I was a kid, and I remember like randomly remembering them one day and bringing it up to someone who was a friend of mine at the time. And this channel had so many subscribers, and it was crazy to me that they just didn't know the channel at all. And I brought it up to a few more people like later on, and they also just didn't know the channel at all. So I went to go look it up, and it was just gone. It had just completely disappeared. Hello, my name is Alyssa, and I'm a Billie Eilish fan, obviously. And today I want to talk about kind of a niche subject, but I want to talk about what happened to 7 Supergirls, because that story that I told at the beginning was very true. When I went to go look up the channels, like years after randomly remembering them, like I stopped watching by that point, obviously, and I went to go look up the channels years later, like randomly remembering them, and like almost everything about them was just gone. And I remember it being super weird because I remember them having a lot of subscribers and stuff, and they had brought on new people. So my first thought was like, oh, maybe just kids aren't interested in this type of content anymore, and the other girls were kind of embarrassed of their old videos and they wanted to have it deleted. So I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of trying to find out what actually happened to the channels and if there was anyone who even remembered them like I did, because it honestly seemed like there wasn't. But I ended up finding out so much that has just been so interesting to me, and I've actually had this video planned out for like a year or two and I've just never done it. But I don't even know what it was recently that just randomly reminded me that I had this video in mind and that I just really wanted to do it. So if this is like a niche topic, if you don't know 7 Supergirls, you can stick around. If you do know them, this might be a little more interesting for you. But yeah, I want to just do a little deep dive on what happened with these channels. So 7 Supergirls was a skit channel where every single day of the week they had a different girl assigned to the different day of the week, and every single day of the week they would upload a skit type video that would follow a certain theme. These skits were usually like funny and stuff, you know, it was just like girls kind of going around doing funny little like bits and skits, you know. It was a very simple format, but it for some reason really appealed to me as a kid. I thought these videos were hilarious, and I honestly really wanted to be on the channels. Like, if I had figured out how to audition, like, trust, I would have been there. So 7 Supergirls was actually part of a bigger, like, series of channels, which were called the Sax channels, and they all, like, followed the same format, where it was like girls ages 8 to 18, basically, who, it was typically 7 girls. 7 Supergirls broke that role a little bit, but 2 girls were like sisters and shared the same day. But it's fine, it's still technically the same thing. But it was like 7 kids, each were assigned a different day of the week. They would upload every single day, and it was all these skit type videos, and they had a ton of channels. So here were the ones that I could find. They had 7 Perfect Angels, 7 Awesome Kids, 7 Fabulous Teens, 7 Cool Tweens, 7 Fantastic Girls, 7 Twinkling Tweens, 7 Gymnastics Girls, 7 Epic Dancers, 7 Supergirls Bonus, Youth City Productions, and then the most famous was 7 Supergirls. Like, that was a top tier channel that everyone would want to be on. Now, I'm not too sure what Youth City Productions is. It was just a name that in my research kept coming up. I'm not sure if it was like maybe like a talent agency that was like with these kids or something, or like in these channels or what, but based on the information, it really doesn't seem like they were signed with anybody, so I don't know. But yeah, these channels basically had the same format where it was all 7 kids, like the title suggests, and then they just make silly skits. So 7 Awesome Kids was actually the first channel created, and based off the format of these videos, you'd think that it was like all just girls having fun with each other, just making these videos and sharing a channel because they're all friends, which actually isn't the truth. These channels made for children, featuring only children, were made by a man in his 50s named Ian. I'm just gonna get this part out of the way because there's really no way to avoid talking about him, but these channels were formed in about 2008 by a man named Ian, who claimed that he started them because of his daughter and her friends, and when they stopped being interested in being in his little videos, he just thought his next best option was to cast random kids from around the world and make like 12 channels off of it, as one does. But like I said, these videos just consist of young girls playing around and doing like little silly sketches and comedies, you know. But as the 7 Awesome Kids channel became more popular, it seems like that's when he started to make all these other like sister channels to each other. And I'm not exactly sure how it happened, but 7 Supergirls ended up being the highest ranking and most popular channel out of all of these. So I'm gonna kind of like, in this next part, describe kind of like what it was like to be on the channels while they were running and stuff. A lot of my information comes from TikTok and a former member of the channels whose name is Kaylin, and I will link all of the videos and their channels and stuff in the description, because I highly suggest that you go listen to their like actual experiences and accounts, because they are very interesting, and I think it's just better if you guys would let them tell you their story. But I'm just gonna recount some information. So allegedly, while running the channels, I'm not gonna say allegedly too much because this guy is really not a good person, you'll find out later. And I truly believe that all these girls are telling the exact truth and that just all of this happened. So, apparently Ian had a co-manager who was a woman and generally seemed like she was trying to look out for the kids, but he just like kind of randomly fired her one day, it seems like. So, when you would get onto the channels, your parents had to make a consent video consenting to Ian that he was allowed to basically, I assume that they were consenting that Ian was basically like allowed to use their kid's face and likeness and stuff like that. One thing you'll find about these channels is that everyone says that while being on it, it was very competitive. Like, the owner would kind of put the kids against each other, like pit them against each other, you know? And like, they would kind of have to like work their way up the channels. So like they would start on a lower tier, like less subscribed to channel, and they would all try to work their way up to channels. Like, I don't know if everyone's goal was to get on 7 Supergirls, but the 7 Supergirls girls were like the like it girls, you know? So when they began to get more traction, they would start to go on brand trips, and 7 Supergirls really became more like a brand and like kind of a company around this time, less of more just like a fun thing and like more kind of actual work, you know? It seems like, again, I wasn't there, but it seems like after brands got involved, that's when stuff started kind of getting weird. So apparently while on these trips, they would have group meetings every single day where the owner would tell them what they basically couldn't do wrong, and if they did something wrong, the owner would basically just yell at the girls, even though they were like 12. Probably not even. I think these girls are like honestly 15. I think I just thought they were 12 because they were honestly, and I'll talk more about this later, but they were honestly made to act a lot younger than they were. And when I was a kid, I honestly believed that they were like 12. Like, I still thought they were like older maybe, but so parents at first were allowed to come to their shoots when they were all like shooting for brand trips, like all doing like group content together during these brand trips. But apparently the parents would have to hide in separate rooms so that they would not be visible at all in the shots. Like, I don't know what it was, but this guy really seemed like he wanted it to seem like it was just the kids and like there were no like parents involved, like basically at all. Like, I don't know what this guy's problem was, but like he did not want the parents like involved like at all. But they did have a parents committee, which I don't know the full details of that, but it really seemed like they weren't doing too much. You know, maybe just helping out like occasionally. It mostly just seemed like in Kaylin's video she says that her mom helped like style the girls because they were made to wear like clothes from Justice while they were like 15 and stuff, so she would try to tailor them to them, which is very nice. Kaylin's mom seems very nice from the way she described her. But other than that, it seems like Ian was mostly in control of these channels. Also, according to the girls, the owner like smelled horrible and was like just always smoking, which like, yeah, always smoking around these kids, that's a great idea. But like apparently he smelled horrible, he wore really weird clothes, and they would literally talk about him behind his back and had like a code name for him. Like they like low-key like did not like this guy, which I wouldn't either, honestly. Another thing that it seems like he started being very weird during these brand trips and stuff is the girls were doing like some kind of like swimsuit sponsorship on a boat in like Anaheim, I think it was, and one of the girls reported that he looked like he was filming their bodies while they were just like on a break, like they were just like taking some downtime, and he kind of just had a camera and it was just randomly looked like he was filming them like with their like lower bodies from the way that he was filming them like through a window on the boat, which like very creepy. But like they tried to explain it away, which I mean, like I feel like I would too, be like, oh, maybe he wasn't actually recording, maybe he was like holding the camera weird or something, but super weird. Another thing is this guy like really didn't want people to know that he owned the channels for some reason. He would basically make the kids lie, it seems like, and say that their like creative director, who apparently didn't last long either, like he fired her too apparently, but they would basically make the kids lie and make it seem like that she was the owner of the channels when it was actually him, a 50-year-old British man. He was British too. And then I already said this, but he would like really pit the girls against each other, like again, especially once brands and stuff started coming along, he just seemed to get very controlling at this point, and he would try to like put the girls against each other and be like, kind of like, oh, you see her video got really good views and yours didn't, you gotta be better, you know, she's catching up to you. Like, kind of like trying to make them jealous of each other, you know? Also, apparently he was very cryptic with the way he spoke. Like, never quite clear on, like, what a certain rule was or what he wanted. But it just seemed like no matter what he said, like, you never end up doing something right. Which honestly had to be so draining for these girls. Like, they're just trying to have fun making YouTube videos. And as they get older, you know, maybe they're losing it a bit because they're not a kid, you know, maybe they do want to branch off to new content, but they're kind of just staying for whatever reason, you know, like they're trying to navigate getting older while being on these channels still made for kids, and you just have so many rules and stuff and you're just never doing anything right, you know. It has to be so draining and just, you have to lose your passion after a while, you know, just constantly being told that everything you're doing is wrong and only worrying about numbers on videos. Like, it sounds horrible. Another thing is apparently the girls had to talk in Skype every single day, and the owner would apparently just randomly join these meetings sometimes, which is weird. Like I just said, the owner was very controlling, and at a certain point he even stopped allowing parents to come to the shoots, but like a parent or two would still manage to get into the shoot, which good, you know, even though child labor laws for YouTube didn't exist during this time and still kind of don't exist, I feel like a parent would still want to be there with their kid. I know my mom would. She like barely lets me do anything now when I'm 17 and just not even doing anything looking. Again, this is Kaylin's experience, but she was, I'll get more into this when I talk about the actual rules later, but she was apparently yelled at by the owner of the channel because she posted on her own personal Instagram a picture of her at the beach, and obviously she's at the beach, so she's in a swimsuit, and the owner yelled at her to take it down because she was, quote, too thin and it made her look sick, which is just honestly a gross thing to say about a teenager, like a young teenager who's still growing and stuff. Like, whether they're thin, normal size, like a little overweight or something, just don't comment about a teenager's body. Anything is horrible to say because it just makes everything worse. Just don't say anything about people's bodies in general. How about, you know? But again, this is a 50-year-old man running like 12 different kids channels over here. He's gotta be a little weird, you know? Also, another one of Kaylin's experiences with the owner. This is around the time, right before she left, she says, which is when stuff started getting really weird with the owner, she also said. But she said that during a video where they were filming with the gymnastics channel, and they were doing a bunch of gymnastics moves and stuff, she fell doing a trick that she wasn't skilled in and hurt her neck, and the owner did not check to see if she was okay. He just seemed like he was mad that she probably wasn't going to be in the video anymore because she had hurt her neck. And he also threatened, if she did not be in the video, to take away her opportunities and stuff. The owner also made them film in freezing cold pools for just sponsorships and stuff. If the girls seemed like they were having any fun on set, he would punish them by taking them out of the video and claiming that they weren't taking the shoot seriously. These are kids skit channels. You don't need to be taking it that seriously. The videos were fun to watch as a kid, you know? They weren't bad videos, but they weren't high production or anything. He claimed that these sponsors are used a lot in his excuses for why he made a bunch of rules and did the things he did. But he claimed that the sponsors of channels wanted B-roll and extra footage of the girls playing in a pool, especially in swimsuits. And this next part is a little weird to say, so a little trigger warning. But Kaylin, again, said that these videos of them in the pool, which I would film for 30 minutes, never ended up on any of the sponsors' websites or used in the way that he claimed they would be. And she said that kind of to this day she still has a bad feeling about what those videos of them in swimsuits in the pool being young girls were actually used for. And I really hope that they were not used for anything bad, because that is just fucking disgusting, obviously. But anyways, apparently the girls had stalkers and the owner did nothing about it. They would be doxxed, sent really disgusting letters and stuff to their houses, and the owner just didn't do anything about it, which, I mean, yeah, kind of I don't know what you would do in that situation, but you're the owner of the channels. You are the owner. It is kind of your responsibility for that stuff when kids are getting doxxed and sent, disgusting messages to them. You should have had a plan in place. Anyways, I've talked about some of the very weird things that he did on the channels. It just seemed like a very stressful time. And again, once these sponsors came in, it really seemed like that's when he started to get very controlling and very strict on the channels and just super weird, you know? But I mentioned that he had rules, and I've mentioned a little bit of rules. So let's talk about the crazy list of rules that he claimed the sponsors, like quote-unquote sponsors, wanted the girls to follow on these channels. Some of these are very easily debunked as, why would a sponsor want this? This was just you being creepy, honestly. These rules are not in order of, like, how and when they came along. It's just the rules in general. But they had assigned best friends, where they had a specific girl, whether they were, like, actually really close friends or not. They just were assigned a specific girl that they were supposed to be assigned best friends with. And they could not be seen, like, really hanging out with any of the other girls if that other friend wasn't around, or they could not really even be seen hanging out with friends in real life if that other girl that they were assigned to was not around too. And really, even if they were, it was always just supposed to be those two girls. Like, no one else but them. Like, they reportedly always, if you were assigned to a best friend, you always had to be standing next to them in pictures. You had to be, like, sitting next to them at, like, a panel or, like, a meet and greet that they would be doing. Like, you kind of always had to be interacting with them in some way. And, like, the whole assigned best friends thing is super weird, because, like, I feel like it would look better if, like, all the girls were friends, not just, like, these two, and then everybody else is just there. You know, like, it just seems weird, because, like, why wouldn't you want it to be, like, you know, all of them are friends, all of them are super close. But, Kaylin again said in her video that she made about her experience on 7 Supergirls, that she was, assigned a best friend, and, like, at first it started with just, like, the, like, whole, like, oh, just, like, stand, sit next to each other a lot, you know, always be, like, interacting with them the most, you know, which is still weird. But she said that it actually evolved to them doing, like, weird, like, more couple stuff, which she said, like, they would have to, like, hold hands when they were, like, walking and stuff like that. She said that he would want the assigned best friends to, like, basically, like, cuddle up next to each other and, like, sit on each other's, like, laps and stuff in certain shots, which is, like, yeah, I had a best friend that I was really close with for years. But, like, we never did, like, that. Like, that is, like, straight up, like, couple shit. And again, I hate to think, like, for these girls' sake, I hate to think that that was just some weird fetish he had. Like, disgusting. They couldn't post on their own Instagram without approval, which is where, Kaylin's swimsuit story from earlier comes from. Like, they were barely allowed to post on their own social medias, and if they wanted to, they had to send the pictures to him and get special approval to be able to post them. They couldn't post on their own YouTube channels, like, more than anything. Like, forget, like, Instagram or, like, Musical.ly or whatever they had. If they tried to post on their own private YouTube channels, they just could not. Like, the girls have said that they tried to, like, film vlogs and stuff, and they were not allowed to post them. They could only post stuff to whatever, like, Sax channel they were on. They had a really crazy dress code, which, insane, but it included no jeans, no dark colors, and they had to look girly, yet wear no makeup, no bras. They were not allowed to wear shoes unless they were outside. And they were only allowed to wear, like, summery clothes. So, like, this hoodie that I'm wearing, I probably would have been screamed at if I was on one of the channels and wore this shit. And, like, again, this dress code doesn't really make sense, because it's like, why would you not really show them wearing clothes that other girls wear? Like, it's not like the girls who were watching the channel didn't wear, like, jeans, or, like, sometimes wore, like, a navy shirt, like. But the whole point for him, I think, was that they had to dress like little kids, you know, like, and I don't know why, because I wasn't, like, that young watching the channels, I want to say. Like, I definitely think it's part of why I thought these girls were younger than they were, because obviously it's like they dress so young, like younger than I was dressing at the time, and I was probably about like 11. No, it couldn't have been that long. Maybe 10-ish when I stopped watching the channels, I want to say. And again, like, always wearing like summery clothes and stuff. These girls lived all around the world from each other, so like always wearing summery clothes was like so weird to me too as a kid, because I'm like, do like all of these girls live in like California or something? Like, because I never saw these kids in like wintry clothes and stuff. Like, I saw some videos where they would like go outside, I remember, and they were like still in like shorts and like tank tops and stuff, and it just like looked cold outside. And I do remember thinking that was a little weird. If they wanted to have an external friend on the channel that wasn't already on the like Sax channels, they had to kind of get this friend approved, and the friend had to not like look too old, and they had to be matching the channel's aesthetic. So again, like all of the rules that I said before. And I remember watching a video, I think it was Jazzy's video, where she did have one of her friends in the video, but I'm gonna assume that this is like either a one-off thing that they did, having like an external friend in the videos, or this was before that rule was like made. Apparently all these girls had to be a certain height, and they could not change their hair color. They had to have a completely natural hair color. Like, they like barely oh my god, they like barely could even have highlights in their hair. They couldn't do the peace sign in photos, like just like the peace sign, you know? They literally couldn't even do that in photos, which, why would you not want to promote peace? If they were at meet and greets, they had to ignore fans who would come up to them if they were just walking around like the venue or the hotel, and they were not allowed to take individual pictures with anybody. So they had to so everybody had to have a picture with like the whole group of girls in it. Like, you could not just get a picture with one girl. It had to be a group picture with all of them. Otherwise, the girls were told to refuse the photo. They were not allowed to cut their hair, and even if they wanted to get it trimmed to like kind of maintain it a bit, you know, they had to ask for permission to just get like literally like 2 centimeters cut off. If they were wearing a leotard this is very similar to no bras rule, but if they were wearing a leotard for a gymnastics video, they were not allowed to wear underwear underneath, like, no matter what. You had to be like fully naked. Like, there were no bras too, so you literally had to be fully naked under that leotard. I did gymnastics for like over 10 years. Let me tell you, there were some creepy guys who would always be watching us just in the bleachers. I don't know if their kid went there or not, but we were kind of the old, like, in the time slot that my classes were, we were like the oldest group of girls there. The rest of it was like kind of like the baby classes, you know? And we knew when those guys were staring at us. And I would wear like sports bras and stuff at this point underneath my leotards. Obviously, I would wear underwear all the time under my leotards, you know. Like, leotards, they are very exposing. They literally only cover this part of your body. Like, your full arms are exposed, your full legs are exposed. Like, I mean full legs, I mean like full legs. So, literally, that rule just like makes me feel so uncomfortable. Because in my personal experience with gymnastics and wearing a leotard, if I had to be completely naked under there, I would be absolutely fucking, like, mortified. These girls were also not allowed to shave or, like, pluck any, like, hair off of, like, their face, like, their eyebrows especially. Which, again, these are growing children. Most of these girls are teenagers. Almost all of them are actually teenagers. Like, not like the channels really didn't have many like really young kids Like, I want to say it was mostly, like, girls, like, 12 to 16, I want to say. And this is probably definitely not all the rules, but these are just most of the ones that I could find. But all of these rules were blamed on the sponsors of the channel. Again, which is very weird, because most of the time when the girls would look at advertisements for these sponsors, they would have, like, makeup and bras and stuff on, and, like, these girls, like, clearly, like, were a bit older, but they clearly would, like, shave their legs and stuff like that. So it was just very weird that the sponsors wanted all of these rules for this group of kids specifically, and just nothing else they promoted. Which, again, just really, really makes it seem like it was all the owner who was setting up these weird, crazy rules for his weird, disgusting fetish. And, again, for these girls' sake, I really hope that's not what it was, because that is disgusting and traumatizing, but it just really seems like that. Anyways, let's talk about the fall of the channels and what happened to get them ended. I want to give a quick trigger warning for this next section, which deals with a bit of sexual assault. I don't want to lightly glaze over it, but I don't want to go into too much detail. But if that's something that you're just extremely sensitive of in general, then be warned and do whatever you need to take care of yourself. Anyway, so around this time of the channels, well, they just started to get very strict and the owner became extremely controlling. A lot of the, like, OGs left, like, all the ones I remember, and this is when I stopped watching the channels around this part, when the OGs left, because, like, it was, like, if you watch the channels, you know the whole, like, OGs, like, Kaylin, Jazzy, Kath and Rachel, like, Jenna, like, all of them, like, just left in, like, one big, like, clump. Like, it was, like, one day they were posting as normal, it seemed like, and then the next, it was, like, Jazzy's goodbye video, and then Kaylin's goodbye video, and then there's Kath and Rachel's goodbye video. Like, they were all doing, like, goodbye videos, like, all in one clump, and I had already been starting to, like, get out of the channels at this point, you know, growing up and, like, moving on to other content. But after the OGs left, they obviously were replaced with other kids who most likely came from the sister channels, who were, like, lower down on the scale, you know? But one day in 2019, I want to say, all of the channels disappeared. All of the content was taken off of the channels. Every single one of the channels involved in, like, the whole, like, sex channel thing, all of them were taken down. All of their videos were taken down, seemingly without an explanation. Like, these channels had, like, millions of subscribers combined. I think the 7 Supergirls channel had, like, almost 10 million subscribers. And then all the other channels had a very good amount of subscribers, too. So, it just seemed extremely weird that these channels all disappeared, you know? And it caused all these girls to lose their income, because they were still getting paid for the views on their videos. Well, as much as the owner would allow them to get paid, honestly. It seemed like he was kind of keeping a lot of it for himself. Fucking asshole. But, you know, all of this girl's work were deleted. Like, if they didn't have the videos saved on their own device, they just didn't have access to these, like, videos anymore. And obviously, it seemed like, why would the owner want to delete the channels and all the videos too? That was his income. But very shortly after the channels were taken down, the news broke that the owner of these channels was actually Ian, and, like, it broke to the public that Ian was the owner of these channels, because he was arrested for sexual exploitation and the sexual assault of a minor who was one of the girls who was on the 7 Supergirls channel. And she was one of the girls who like came on after one of the OGs left. She made a video or two like talking about her experience, which I will link in the description down below. Her name is Brianna, I believe, who was the victim, and I encourage you guys to go watch her video if you're interested, because I think it's a lot better for you guys to hear her story on it, and because it actually happened to her. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I also don't want to seem like I'm glossing over it. And originally Brianna was not mentioned in any of the articles about Ian's arrest, but she eventually did come out with a story on YouTube, and again, that will most likely be linked in the description. I very much encourage you guys to go watch that and give her your support. Luckily, it seems like she is doing great now. After that, she seems very active on her TikTok, and she's made a few TikToks kind of about being on 7 Supergirls since. So I'm glad that she was able to be very strong after that. And a lot of the girls who were on 7 Supergirls made videos talking about 7 Supergirls on different social media platforms. So if you're interested in this, again, go find their videos, because it's so much better to hear their accounts, especially since they are willing to share them. But yeah, a lot of the girls now are just making social media content. A lot of them are doing YouTube or TikTok, which obviously they liked making videos that a lot as a kid, and I'm glad that they get to continue on their own personal channels and doing what they actually like to do now. Jazzy actually has a very successful YouTube channel right now. It's called like Jazzy Ann, and she's doing very well. I also very much like Kaylin's YouTube channel. She is very funny. A lot of the other girls like Jenna and Ellie and like Mimi and stuff, they mostly seem to be doing TikTok more than anything now. But most of them still have, apart from like Catherine and Rachel, most of them still have a fairly big social media presence, and a lot of them are doing honestly really well. Literally yesterday, I think I saw that Mimi and Ellie met up again, which is very nice to see. Very nice to see. Anyways, that is going to be it from me. I just wanted to do a little kind of deep dive on this YouTube channel that I used to watch when I was a kid, and I just was very interested on how it, disappeared and stuff. If you guys want to see more of me, then my links are all in the description. I am going to try to occasionally go live here on YouTube. So just look out for that, I would be very grateful if you were to like this video if you did enjoy it. And honestly, comment down below if you remember 7 Supergirls, because I love talking about my memories of the channel, and again, I love having conversations with you guys. You guys are extremely fun to talk to. So, but yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.